Hi, everyone. For our project, we're going to be comparing the statistical peaks of LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant, and then trying to decide which of those three players had the highest statistical peak in their career per season. So let's just jump right in to LeBron. Here's the code I've been using to figure out LeBron's best season statistically. So to run through it real quick, just bred in two CSV files with some basic stats and some more advanced stats and merge those together. And then I'm just picking the stats that I'm finding the most important I'm going to use to compare his different seasons. So rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, points, the standard ones. And then a couple more advanced stats here like offensive and defensive win shares, overall win shares, things like that. Next, I'm just going to rank each stat by season, and it creates a new column, of course, called, like, for example, total rebound rank, ranking them from 1 to 20 something, however many seasons he has for each stat. Once we have that, I take an average of each season's ranking. So for example, if LeBron was ranked first in one season for rebounds, like third for assists, like seventh for steals. We're averaging all this together to get a ranking average for that overall season. And that's how I decided to compare each season. Once we get that, we just had this code block here is just adding in the seasons to the second data frame that I've made so that we can have the seasons back in there to make it easier to plot. And now we're getting ready to plot and actually see the results I have. So this first plot here is just a bar chart showing that average ranking per season, where I averaged the rankings of all the different stats. And remember here that a lower number is better since, first rank is best. So we end up finding out that his 2008-2009 season, which isn't much of a surprise, is his best season statistically. One interesting thing to note is that if I didn't include the advanced stats like win share and all that, the numbers here get really skewed, and it kind of sheds a light into the fact that just basic stats like points, rebounds, steals do not do enough to show a player's full effect on the game. So then the next plot I'm going to take is just finding the top three seasons overall, and we're going to break those down a little closer. So here's his 2008-2009 season, 2009-2010, which is his second best season, and 2012-2013, which is his third best season. And here you can see a comparison of all the stats here. And keep in mind, these are the actual values of the stats. So when these higher numbers are better. And you can see there, he's actually relatively consistent the whole time. But 2008, 2009, just a slight edge in most all of the categories.
Hello. My goal was to determine the best statistical season of Kobe Bryant's career. And to do this, I first uploaded his career traditional stats along with his career advanced stats. From there, I pulled what I believed to be some of the most important metrics for evaluating his overall performance. Those metrics were points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, player efficiency rating, offensive win shares, defensive win shares, box plus minus, and value over replacement player. I then merged these data sets together, and after merging them, I ranked these key stats across each season of his career, with 20 being the best season and one being the worst season. The bar chart that I created, it shows how the seasons really stacked up against the others. And right away, we noticed that this 2002-2003 season has a huge cluster at the top, pointing towards the consistency and just how good that season was. Another season that stands out is this 2005-2006 season, with a lot of categories ranking near the top also. And I wanted to take a closer look, so I created a heat map, and the heat map pretty much shows the same thing. As we can see in 2002, 2003, very consistent as almost pretty much every single one of his stats ranked at or near the top. And then in that 2005, 2006 season, we can see that the advanced stats really just love that season, with 4 out of the 5 advanced stats that we looked at ranking number one. And then, of course, his points that season were also amazing. It's also worth noting that Kobe Bryant's only MVP award came in the 2007 2008 season, which makes it another season worth examining. So, with these 3 seasons emerging as his best seasons, I created a grid of bar charts, and it just allows us to compare them in greater depth. What really stands out right away is his points per game during that 2005 2006 season, where he averaged around 35 points per game in really just an incredible scoring year. But as we look at the other traditional stats, the 2002 2003 season really dominates the rest of those traditional stats. Ultimately, for me, it came down to the advanced stats. And this is where the 2005 2006 season pulls ahead. We see that Kobe Bryant had career highs in player efficiency rating, offensive win shares, box plus minus, and value over replacement player. And of course, this was also the year that Kobe Bryant had his historic 81-point game, which remains the second highest scoring game in NBA history. So, after analyzing all of the data, I determined that Kobe Bryant's greatest career season came in 2005, 2006. Thank you.
Here we have Michael Jordan's career stats, and if we go down to right here, you can see that I merged the data sets so that it includes only the metrics that I felt were relevant. And right off the bat, when um, narrowing down the seasons to find out what his statistical peak is, we can go ahead and get rid of his 85, 86, and 94, 95 campaigns, as he didn't play anywhere near enough games to for a full season. And then we can also get rid of his 01, 02, and 02, 03 seasons with Washington, as they are noticeably weaker in pretty much every single way. Here's a graph showing his points per game totals for all the remaining seasons. And then here we have a graph that shows his win shares, box plus minus, and value over replacement player, or VORP, totals for all of the remaining seasons. And as you can see, his 84, 85, and 97, 98 seasons have the 2 lowest values in all these metrics. So we can go ahead and get rid of those. As here are the remaining ones. Next, I made a scatter plot of his points per game on the x-axis and win shares on the y-axis, as I feel like these are two of the most important, if not the 2 most important metrics to evaluate a NBA player. And as we can see, there are 3 seasons that kind of stand out as being lower than the others in both of these metrics. So we can go ahead and get rid of his 91, 92, 92, 93, and 96, 97 seasons. And here are the remaining ones. And eliminating some of these seasons is extremely difficult, as many of them are very close in many ways. Uh, but next, I got rid of his 86, 87 season due to having a somewhat significantly lower win share total than the rest. And I also got rid of his 95, 96 season due to a lower field goal percentage and slightly lower overall advanced metrics. And then next I got rid of the 89-90 season and the 90-91 season. These are both incredible seasons, obviously, but just miss out from being in the final two for his best. And as we can see here, if we're just looking at from the stacked column chart, just looking at the total of his total rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game, and blocks per game, the seasons that I got rid of do kind of line up with that, as they're the lower, as they tend to be the lower ones on this graph for the most part. So then that just leaves us with 87, 88, and 88, 89 right here. And I plotted each metric I felt was relevant on their own little individual graph here. And when you look at his 88-89 season, you it's arguably Jordan's most well-rounded season of his career. He averaged more rebounds and assists per game than in any other season of his career, and this helps explain the career high in triple doubles here at 15. I did, however, decide to go with his 87-88 campaign, as we can go down right here. And I chose 87-88 because this year he put up career highs in win shares, box plus minus, VORP, PER, steals per game, and blocks per game. In addition, he had his second best points per game total of his career in 87-88, whereas he put up the fifth best points per game total of his career in 88-89. It is a very close call, but I feel as if 87-88 was truly Jordan's statistical peak. So here we have the best season from each of these NBA legends. And when you take a look at it, as we have some graphs here showing the most relevant metrics for the three, LeBron and Jordan's seasons are noticeably better than Kobe's, and that does make sense, though, as many would consider Jordan and LeBron to be the two greatest players in the history of the game. When comparing the best years from these two, it is incredibly close. Their advanced metrics are almost all dead even, and I'm going to say that Michael Jordan had the greatest statistical peak of the three. And that being said, LeBron does have some advantages over Jordan. Like LeBron beats Jordan in rebounds and assists per game by roughly 1.5 or 2. And this is not a massive advantage, but certainly worth mentioning. However, there are two main metrics here that separate Jordan from LeBron, which are points and steals per game, as Jordan had 6.6 more points per game in his best season than LeBron, and he nearly doubled LeBron in steals per game. And in 87-88, Jordan put up the 10th best single season points per game total and the 8th best single season steals per game total in NBA history, which just goes to show his dominance on both sides of the ball. And LeBron's advanced metrics are incredible for this season, but Jordan's are essentially the same, if not slightly better. And when you combine that with the fact that Jordan put up incredibly high ranking, like regular metric marks like points per game and steals per game, that gives him the better statistical peak.